Hey folks, Cosmo Designs here, and this is part 15 of the HK 1/32 scale B-25B Mitchell build. So folks, we are almost looking at a complete plane here. It is coming together real nice as far as the build goes, except for the fuselage coming together. I must admit, gluing the fuselage was a chore, and it didn't glue together as nice as I wanted it to, meaning we got a nice gap right here, a sizable gap. And I'm not the only person to encounter that. I've looked at a lot of videos online and they're having the same problem right there. Because I like to dry fit my parts before assembling, and I had no problem with the dry fit, and even during the dry fit I had that gap. So what I mean by no problem during the dry fit is the parts sat in where they're supposed to sit in, but there was always that gap there and one on the bottom. But that's okay, the glue is there, and it's just going to take a little bit of filler, sanding, and we'll be off to the races. So if you are building this model, just be aware that you're going to have a little bit of trouble with that there. Now, the wings are on, but obviously they are not glued or snapped in this case. I just wanted them there to show you the overall size of this model kit. And here is my hand right there. So you are dealing with quite a big model kit here when it's all said and done. So you can just imagine the size of the B-17 kit if you have one. So we are off to the races here on this one. I also did manage to glue this together without having to do the nose wheel. Now that is going to be a huge deal here come soon, because I don't want to have to paint around it, and there's quite a bit of detail yet to go on to the landing gear itself, especially with the nose wheel. So I am going to be able to install that at a later date, and the instructions do call for it to be installed prior to attaching the two fuselage halves together. So that is going to be a huge benefit to install that later. So especially because I'm doing the metal landing gear, right? So that is a huge bonus for me to be able to install that later. Also too, I have the windows, the circle windows right there. They are in, and that is using that same material, that cheap plastic material right there from picture frames. That just took a long time to shape. See if I can get a little closer. It just took a long time to smooth and shape to a nice circle there, and it's on both sides. You can see if I can get to the other side. It's just hard to maneuver here because it's such a big kit. Right there. It just took a long time to smooth and shape. I'm going to see if I can get a better look here for you guys. Again, it's just it's hard to place your hand too, because you don't want to push your hand onto a window and pop the window in, especially at this point, because there's no getting into your plane now. There you go. There's a better look at the window there. So it's just a matter of cutting a piece of plastic out and sanding and smoothing and shaping it around to get your desired look right there. Also too is the moving surfaces right there. They're all painted up. There you go. However, I didn't do any weathering on these, and I'm not going to do any weathering on these ones until they're actually attached to the plane. Reason being is they're going to weather a little bit differently than the actual wings themselves, and because obviously with the wings you're going to have guys, you know, crawling all over the wings for doing maintenance and stuff, but you never have them walking on the moving surfaces. Obviously, even to this day with the aircraft we have now, they have no step signs and stuff. So those are actually going to look a lot different in weathering than the wings. So I'm going to wait for weathering on those and do the weathering once they're attached. Obviously, the engines aren't on right now. I don't want them on right now just because I don't want to bump them or knock them, especially while we're doing this video. So I'm just going to leave those off for the time being. Moving on to the cockpit. As you can see, we've done a lot of work. We haven't seen the canopy glass since I think almost the first video. This gives you an idea of how much detail you're actually going to see in. People always complain about why you're putting so much detail into your cockpit, right? Well, that's why. Look at it. You see so much. Now, obviously, we're going to be applying paint, but only to the here, right? So look how much you're going to see in. So again, if you go back to one of my first videos, you'll see how much material we had to remove from the canopy. I think there was like 3 or 4 lines, maybe even just 2, I can't remember, that we had to remove to get this backdated to a B. Now also too, I'm going to be adding a little bit more detail here to the cockpit. I'm going to be adding a headset right there. Now, I just added a little thread to simulate the cord. And I'm going to be putting this over a yoke. I'm going to make another one. I have another one. I'm just going to put this over top the yoke for a little bit more detail. But that's going to come along nice. And then for right here in the front, there's going to be more detail going on here. There's going to be some 30 cal boxes right here. A little seat maybe in the folded up position here. So there's a little bit more detail to go on here, but I couldn't add it obviously until we had this all glued in. So it's going to come along real nice. Now I'm going to see if I can just take these wings off just to show you the underside quickly. See, even just placed on, these wings are nice and sticky. And I don't want to lose that by placing these wings in the clipped position. So, there you go. So underneath we have, and there's your Bombay with that fuel tank and stuff. So I still have to add the clusters and stuff, but again, that'll come at a later date. And you can see the gap even right there. But again, that'll be all filled in. And then there's your nose wheel. So I'll be able to get that in there no problem. And then we have a little gap right there. That was to be expected. That'll be filled in. I saved a piece. And then there's your one window right there. And then obviously there'll be a little bit of filler and then paint. And then there's your other window right there. So I think those circle windows turned out great. And then your back of your plane, once we get that last nose window, or tail window rather, to go in there. So there we go, guys. It is coming along. I guess it doesn't look like so much once you take it all apart, but getting that together was a huge task. And now that we have it all glued on, it's going to be sanding and then paint. And then it's going to all come together. Wheels, a little bit of weathering, and we got ourselves a model. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I look so forward to your comments on this. Bye.